In a world full of podcasts, one podcast has one episode to give you 1 week of movie news. This is The Weekly Reel. Welcome to The Weekly Reel for the week ending Friday the 11th. Getting into movie news, we're going to talk about Jurassic Park Rebirth. So it did huge business over the 4th of July weekend with a global opening of $322 million. We predicted on the last episode of the show it would easily hit the $1 billion mark, and it's really right on pace to do exactly that. From Deadline, quote, "The DNA in this new round of dinosaurs is so good that it's leading Universal Ambulance Jurassic World Rebirth to a higher worldwide opening than previously reported, that being $322.5 million worldwide, with $147.8 million domestic over 5 days, and then $174.7 million foreign take. As we already told you, it's the second biggest opening for a Jurassic movie in the franchise behind 2015's Jurassic World with $525.5 million. Now, the Rotten Tomatoes score on this sits at 52%, one of the lowest scores in the franchise, and honestly, I think that even that score is kind of being generous. I saw it last week, and it really just plays like a greatest hits of the franchise. ScarJo and Ali mostly just sleepwalk through the entire thing and skate by on charms and smirks. The writing and entire premise is just pretty bad. It's like they took The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, mashed them together, thinking they had cooked up the new peanut butter and chocolate, but instead it's really just like Nutella and dog shit. For all the hype about original Jurassic Park and The Lost World screenwriter David Koepp coming back and the series, quote, returning to its roots, they just sold us yet another lemon. They can't let go of this dumb idea that people are bored of dinosaurs, both as represented in the film's world, and then this meta-commentary on their own need for introducing these ridiculous ball-sackosaurus mutant dinos. In real life, zoos are still regularly frequented. People still go on safaris, museums with fossils still receive loads of visitors, and animal documentaries still get watched. The best I can say is it's not as bad as the previous entry, Dominion, and it will still easily clear $1 billion, which is really just further evidence of how asinine it is to have the plot of people being bored with dinosaurs in the movie universe yet again. We'll post a longer review of the movie on the channel, so if you're not subscribed, then click that bell to be notified when that drops. Next up, we're going to talk about Dune Messiah. So we got a little bit of news this week about the hotly anticipated third and final Dune movie by Denis Villeneuve before he moves on to rebooting James Bond. Warner Brothers has opted to officially call this Dune Part 3 and not just Dune Messiah, which is the name of the third book in Herbert's Dune series. This may indicate that Villeneuve is taking a more liberal approach to adapting the source material, which is far more philosophical and doesn't really follow the typical adventure arc used in the previous 2 books, and features far less action. The name change could also be an indication Villeneuve will be including some parts of the 4th book, Children of Dune. Dune Part 3 recently cast the actors to portray the children of Paul and Chani. Ida Brooke joined as Gynema, and Nakua Wolf Momoa as Leto II. And if the last name didn't give it away, Wolf is Jason Momoa's son. The elder Momoa made news when he confirmed he'll actually be returning as well, and has a much bigger role this time around. He's likely going to feature in the marketing and promotional materials, so WB seems to be getting that surprise out of the way early. And really, it matters less if he returns, and the surprise is rather how and why he returns. We also got word that Dune Part 3 will be shot entirely on IMAX film cameras, now the second feature film to do so following Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Villeneuve and Nolan are friends and champions of cinema, so it's nice to see them championing the best possible format to see their films in. The IMAX cameras both directors will be utilizing is a new generation from the previous cameras used, which is more filmmaker-friendly, being lighter and quieter. Dune Part 3 has already locked in a release date of December 16th, 2026, and will continue to cover its production as news comes out. Next, we're going to talk about another adaptation of Street Fighter. Capcom is letting filmmakers take another crack at a live-action adaptation of its long-running and wildly successful fighting game franchise, Street Fighter. It's been over 30 years since the last big-budget movie attempt, which has become something of a cult classic, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme at the peak of his popularity and the last role of the late, great Raul Julia. The film will be directed by Kotaro Sakurai, whose recent credits include directing several episodes of the Twisted Metal TV show, the vast majority of the Eric Andre show, and Andre's 2021 underrated movie Bad Trip. Sakurai has taken over the project from Bring Her Back filmmakers Danny and Michael Philippoi, which, if you haven't seen Bring Her Back yet, it's a crazy-ass horror movie that might actually psychologically scar you. Anyway, we've been getting a steady drop of casting news about this, and the actors joining it, some who it might be generous to even call actors, have been pretty wild. First up, Andrew Koji is playing Ryu. He looks right on as the character. He was excellent in the Warrior series and Bullet Train. Noah Centineo as Kin. Now, he usually stars in Netflix comedies like To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Kalina Liang as Chun-Li. She's a promising young actress fresh off the spooky must-see Presence. Is also a very tiny person who'll need to up her thigh game. Cody Rhodes as Guile. He's a wrestler guy who should do well here, although fans did want Reacher's Alan Richardson. Jason Momoa will be playing Blanca, whose acting style is really perfect for this type of movie. 50 Cent has been cast as Balrog. Now, 50 Cent is 50 years old, but he's actually kind of absurdly right on. Orville Peck has been cast as Vega. Now, I had to Google who he even is, and he's some masked country singer. Beyond that, I have no idea. Andrew Schulz is playing Dan Hibiki. The annoying podcaster will be playing an annoying fighter. Joe Anawai has been cast as Akuma, apparently another wrestler, and apparently he's not Jason Momoa. Finally, we got David Dastmalchian as M. Bison, most recently seen in the excellent Murderbot adaptation, Suicide Squad, and The Amazing Late Night with the Devil, and he'll be able to bring a villainous eccentricity to the movie that should fit right in. With no script, but still set to begin shooting in Australia this August at a budget of $100 million, this is going to be a wild ride we'll be following at least out of morbid curiosity. Even still, it's going to be hard to top the notorious production of the 1991 movie, which was a drug and ego-fueled shit show. The Guardian has a great behind-the-scenes write-up of that movie, which everyone should go look up and read. The new Street Fighter is coming to us, courtesy of a joint venture through Legendary and Sony with a tentative release date of 2026. Now, a couple of quick tidbits on some upcoming movies that are getting rolling in production. First up, Deeper, starring Tom Cruise and Ana de Armas, directed by Doug Liman, who directed The Bourne Identity and the Jake Gyllenhaal reboot of Roadhouse. This has been described as a supernatural thriller. The story follows a disgraced astronaut played by Cruise who embarks on a deep-sea mission to explore a recently discovered ocean trench, only to encounter a mysterious and dangerous force. Production begins in August with a budget of $200 million coming to us from Warner Brothers. Next, we got word on Werewolf, which is Robert Eggers' latest film, and it just put out a casting call. Eggers is the director of Nosferatu, The Lighthouse, and The Witch, really having gone 3 for 3 on all those fantastic films. The scarce details so far is that it's set in 13th century England with a dialogue true to the time period, including translations and annotations for those uninitiated to Old English, which is, I imagine, the entire world. Production starts in September with a release date aiming for 2026, and it's probably safe to assume Willem Dafoe is also going to pop up in this. And finally, the last bit of movie news. We lost a great character actor, Michael Madsen, last week, best known for his work with Tarantino and Reservoir Dogs and The Hateful Eight. He was just an old-school guy's guy who always lent a credible and powerful presence and gravitas to anything that he starred in. He was 67 years old. R.I.P. to one of the real ones. That's it for movie news for this week. Next up, we're going to get into our early buzz section, and leading us off is Superman. Superman is really taking off this week, set to go wide this Friday. The review embargo lifted on Tuesday, and critics are hailing James Gunn's reboot as a heroic feat full of heart and dazzling action, sitting at a very positive 85% in Rotten Tomatoes. David Sims of The Atlantic had this to say, quote, "This Superman is, more than anything, concerned with our society's struggle to accept the possibility of inherent goodness. The result is an optimistic movie, one that sees a hopeful way forward for both Superman and the world's other caped men and women." Nicholas Barber of the BBC.com had this to say, quote, "James Gunn's nerdy ambition will make comic fans chuckle, as will his twisted sense of humor. It takes some gall to make a zillion-dollar Hollywood blockbuster that feels so much like an eccentric sci-fi B-movie. Nadia Martinez of Gotham Geek Girl on YouTube, while still enjoying it, had this to say, quote, captivating and colorful world building, lovable characters, and a heartfelt story that embodies the spirit of Superman, yet full of excess exposition, unnatural dialogue, one-dimensional villains, and the same beats we've seen over and over with Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, yours truly got to see an early screening of it this week, and I found it to be an absolute blast. I'm not usually big into the Cape stuff, and haven't seen all 3 Guardian movies. I think I have, at least. Just the one time. I enjoyed them well enough, but really felt no need to revisit any of them. But in Superman, the whole cast crushes it, although I did think Supes was a little bit too much of an emotional teenager at times. Nicholas Holt's Luthor actually stole the show for me. I haven't really liked him very much in much else I've seen him in. I think he was, perfectly acceptable in most of that stuff, but didn't really stand out. But here, I was really surprised by how well he brought it. There's great action set pieces, characters, and just this whole crazy-ass vibrant world. There's a lot of joking, too, as mentioned, which honestly, most didn't really land that much for me, but the audience I was with all ate it up. There's a ton of heart and this great message on following one's moral compass in a world constantly trying to crush you into pieces. This is one superhero movie absolutely worth your time. Go see it in theaters on the biggest screen possible and have a ball. Now, with all the Superman hype, it's easy to forget other movies are released in this week. One of them is Abraham's Boys, a Dracula story. Abraham's Boys follows Max and Rudy Van Helsing, who have spent their lives under the strict and overprotective rule of their father, Abraham. Unaware of his dark past, they struggle to understand his paranoia and increasingly erratic behavior. And we've got some initial reviews to share. Most point to a slow-moving affair that struggles to deliver on its premise, but a third act that turns bloody violent. Ryan Orndorff of Blu-ray.com had this to say, quote, Abraham Boys has mood, and the tale eventually gets around to escalation, helping to improve a somewhat sluggish effort that battles with the limitation of the material that inspired it. Cody Derricks of Next Best Picture had this to say, quote, although it's not always the most captivating watch, Kermani clearly understands that the darkest fears and most unhinged decisions of the average person are scarier than any vampire. Ben Sherlock of Screen Rant wasn't too hot on it, though, saying, quote, Abraham's Boys has a great premise, a chilling score, and an old-school visual style, but it's all wasted on a slow, boring film with very few scares. Written and directed by Natasha Kermani, and looking through her credits, I'm not really familiar with her prior work. Abraham's Boys stars Titus Welliver, Judah Mackey, and Brady Hepner. And finally this week in Early Buzz, we have the movie Sovereign. The plot description for this one reads, inspired by real events, Sovereign is a tense and provocative true crime thriller about a father and his teenage son, Jerry and Joseph Kane, who follow the sovereign citizen belief system, which is a deeply anti-establishment worldview rooted in distrust of government authority. Sitting at a very positive 86% in Rotten Tomatoes, reviewers had this to say. Chauncey K. Robinson of People's World, quote, Sovereign is tough to watch, yet hard to look away from. The crime drama takes viewers on a tragic ride with a father-son duo on a collision course with ruin, telling a layered story with raw intensity and nuance. Frank Scheck of The Hollywood Reporter had this to say, quote, Sovereign works well in its own terms, especially in its depiction of the complicated relationships between fathers and their sons. Offerman is simply terrific. Brianna Ziegler of AV Club liked it less, though, saying, quote, though Offerman buoys the film with terrific aplomb, Sovereign is a missed opportunity to examine the cascading fallout from living in a country that fails its people and breeds violence. Directed by Christian Swiegel, whose previous credits just include a couple of shorts that I'm unfamiliar with, Sovereign stars Nick Offerman, Dennis Quaid, and Jacob Tremblay. All right, now we're going to get into the new trailers for the week. Last week, we got the new trailer for Project Hail Mary. We didn't have an episode last week, so we're going to take a look at it right now and react to it. So, yep, I'm going to start that trailer right now.
Please state your name.
Ryland Grace.
Ryland Grace, Ryan Gosling rather.
Several light years from my apartment.
Author wrote it with him in mind, so kind of makes sense.
I'm not an astronaut. I'm not an astronaut.
If you don't go, you die. Or the rest
No person that wears glasses, by the way, is able to wear them in that strange configuration.
sun is dying.
I'll try it sometime, but
You are the only scientist who might know what this says.
That's the most unbelievable thing about this so far for me.
You have a doctorate in molecular biology. I need you to come with us. This is Project Hail Mary. The sun is not the only star dying. Every star was infected by its neighbor, except one.
Why?
This is based off of Andy Weir's book of the same name.
And find out.
He also did The Martian, so a lot of similarities now
Die in space.
between this and The
What
Martian.
Americans would call a long shot.
Hail Mary. I get it. Who on earth is gonna sign up for this?
If we do nothing,
So
everything.
kind of like Armageddon, it's easier to train the biologist to be an astronaut than train the astronaut to be a microbiologist.
I put the knot in astronaut. I've never done anything. I've never done a space. I can't even moonwalk.
And in the book, it jumps between like the present and the past, where you see him as he's prepping to get launched into space, and then these other scenes with the long hair and the beard is him waking up in space.
I understand the stakes. I do. My place is in the classroom.
The world is counting on you.
Gordon Miller, Spider-Verse, Lego Movie.
But some people are not good at things.
You know who you are. You're gonna do great.
Very melodramatic type music. It makes it look a little cheesy that way.
Oh my god.
But balancing the tone on this one's gonna be really tough. There's a lot of awe and discovery elements, but then there's a lot of jokes and there's a lot of Reddit type humor in the book.
So, I met an alien. He's kind of growing on me. At least not growing in me,
Yeah.
you know, which was a concern for a little
So,
while.
like that right there. So yeah, it's the first
I'm Grace.
trailer.
I'm gonna call you Rocky. Thumbs up. No, that's thumbs down. We do the thumbs up. It's close enough.
So yeah, that's the first trailer for Project Hail Mary. Gosling comes out March 20th, 2026. Usually you don't get a trailer that early ahead of the release of the movie, but they must be feeling pretty confident about it to be able to show it that early. Yeah, the tone again on it, I wasn't a huge fan of the book. The main character doesn't really go through a whole narrative arc in the traditional sense. He's kind of like, hey, I'm right about this stuff, and he just kind of keeps getting proven right, and he has like a very jokey, quippy way about him, like whenever he does that. So yeah, we'll see how this one turns out. But yeah, that was the first trailer for Project Hail Mary. Okay, next up, we're going to look at the Cat in the Hat official trailer, new animated movie starring Bill Hader as the voice of the Cat in the Hat. Really didn't even know this was supposed to be a thing until I saw Superman last night and it popped up, and I didn't catch all of it, so we're going to watch it now, react to it starting now. Warner Brothers doesn't really do a whole lot of animation these days, so it's unusual for them to have an animated movie coming out.
Getting the vibe that you probably shouldn't be opening this.
What makes you say that?
That. Do not open.
Come on, that's just a suggestion.
Stop. Stop it. No. Don't!
Well,
Welcome back to the Institute, the institution
it's
of...
not really from the imagination of Dr. Seuss anymore, you know? Now he's just kind of turning it into an IP.
Hi, Bug in a Mug. Here for the pack. Ron.
I heard the cat lost 3 giraffes on his last mission. Actually, it was 5.
Huh.
Today is gonna be the best day ever.
Jesus.
Go to the montage. Let's light it up.
I love Bill Hader, but
Cat.
I just had the thought of like, why didn't they just do a whole different
I did not.
new character for this? Like Dr. Seuss, the thing I love about Dr. Seuss is that his stories are short but sweet. They're morality tales, they're fables you can share with kids to kind of learn lessons about life, about discrimination, about being picky, whatever the case may be. And now they've kind of turned it into like a Despicable Me type situation. Yeah. But, you know, it's not for us old heads that grew up loving Dr. Seuss, loving the material. This is clearly meant for kids, and, you know, kids will probably love it, even if, yeah, us old heads might look at something like that and go like, well, that's not how the original book is. So not for us. Looks fine and fun to bring a kid to, but yeah, that's Cat in the Hat. And finally, we got a new trailer for The Running Man. This is Edgar Wright's reboot, remake, new adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Of course, there was the version back in the 80s with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we're going to take a look at it now.
Stop filming me!
You know, I hate this whole thing. Trailer starts now. Yeah, we know. We click play. Just show the damn thing.
35, married, one child, in medical crisis. We need money for a doctor now.
Ben, watch yourself.
Employment status, blacklisted. But there's still a way out for you. It's the biggest show in the country.
Bloodlust is our birthright.
Yeah, we're probably just about 6 months from something like this being believable in America.
Welcome to the Running Man.
Coleman Domingo,
People on these games.
it's a great role for him.
I'm not trying to get myself killed, so kiss my ass twice.
Right there is why you can win this game.
This guy, nobody loves Glenn Powell more than Glenn Powell loves Glenn Powell. Love to see Josh Brolin though in a new, different type of role like that. Usually he's playing like a stoic badass, but as a scummy executive, he looks pretty cool there.
I promise. That's the spirit.
This is America, goddammit, and we don't put up with no bullshit. Yes! Hunt him down.
Love Edgar Wright as a director, so I'm totally in for this already, knowing he's the director. And the action sequences, the humor, everything so far looks really on point. It's just, you know, Glenn Powell doing his best Tom Cruise.
You might be moving up too fast.
Gee, does this guy have a stipulation in his contract that he needs to be half naked and everything? And I'm totally mad because I can never achieve that physique. But still, come on, stop rubbing it in her face.
I got a grenade.
We already saw you half naked when you were with Biggs from Andor. Like, all right, buddy, it's enough.
I'm still here, you shit eaters.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
Hey, big boys!
Michael Cera's in it too. All right.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, that looks bonkers. And yeah, I think American society is probably 6 months most away from, you know, some sort of shit like that happening. Yeah, and the whole thing is really dependent on how much you want to see Glenn Powell survive. You know, I might want to see him get hit in the face maybe a few times, just stop him and his appearance and everything. He's going to be the new Pedro Pascal soon enough, and he seems like he's just trying to like consume Tom Cruise's career. But even still, you know, jokes aside, he looks awesome in this, and the movie looks awesome too. That's a wrap for today's episode of The Weekly Reel. New episodes drop at the end of every week, so you get a quick hit of what's really going on in the real world before heading into your weekend. If you're on YouTube and you like what you saw, then hit that bell below. Or if you're just listening to the pod, then please follow the show But either way, feel free to drop a review in the comments. We appreciate you listening and have a great weekend.